Warning: these social media platforms may be hazardous to your health. Censorship kills. Pain coming. This has been a PSA by Breaking Spectre. Well, good morning, everybody. How we doing? Spectre here on this now 19th day, Tuesday of the week here of October. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Nice sunny day here in this part of the country. A little chipper for this time of year, but that's all right. It's fall time. I can live with that. Hopefully you guys are doing well. We got a lot of stuff to get to here on the morning. We're going to give the old rundown on what's going on in the old marketplace, talk a little bit about Amazon on the broadcast, a little bit more regarding coal and what's going on there, a little nuclear, a little bit what's going on in the old housing market here this morning, some reports out. And of course, we've got some developments down in Arizona, Maricopa County, and the like down there. Kelly Ward's got some stuff. And of course, a couple things related to Trump on the broadcast. But first, let me throw this over, and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, Spectre here. I want to tell you about my Teespring store that I just opened up with a handful of products in that for you guys, the listeners, the audience, those that are in chat on a day-in, day-out basis. Always appreciate your support, and I figured what the heck, we'll throw some merch out there for you guys. And so obviously with YouTube and Earth Shenanigans as of late, I'm going to be looking to expand to other platforms, and well, that all comes at a cost, so I figured what the heck. That being said, I got some t-shirts and that out here. You can see those in black, white, and gray. Spectre Does News. We got a water tumbler, 20 ounce there. Got a coffee mug you can get in black or white. And of course, we got the Let's Go Brandon #FJB shirt, which you can also find in black, white, or gray. Right now, you can find that all over at https specters-storefront.creator-spring.com. That's https://specters-storefront.creator-spring.com. Thank you for your support. All right. Well, that being said, let's get into it here this morning. Futures top 4,500 as market melt-up accelerates. It says over the weekend, a Goldman flow trader explained why it expected a powerful market melt-up to emerge in the coming days, and this time Goldman was right, because after trading at 43.17 just 1 week ago, SPOOs are now almost 200 points higher, rising above 4,500 this morning after a powerful ramp pushed U.S. equity futures and global markets as an upbeat profit forecast from Johnson & Johnson, which boosted, get it, boosted, its revenue and earnings per share guidance, added to the positive momentum in corporate earnings generated by big banks last week, and helped counter concerns about elevated inflation. At 7:15 a.m. Eastern, Dow E-minis were up 183 points, or about half a percentage point. S&P 500 E-minis were up 22 3/4 points, or about half a percent, and NASDAQ 100 E-minis were up 61.75 points, or 0.4%. Treasury yields were unchanged at 1.6%, and the dollar slumped to a 4-week low. And there we see that depicted graphically as well. Says in pre-market trading, Johnson & Johnson, whose COVID vaccine will soon be mixed and matched with mRNA platforms, rose 1.7% after it raised its 2021 adjusted profit forecast, even as it stuck to its outlook of $2.5 billion in sales from its COVID-19 vaccine this year. Not a bad haul, huh? $2.5 billion in sales when, it's free to we the people, right? Pushed through the government, I'm sure. Walmart rose 2% after Goldman Sachs added the world's largest retailer to its America's Conviction list. Travelers Companies, Inc. rose 2.7% after the property and casualty insurer beat estimates for third quarter profit. Large cap FAAMG names all rose between 0.3 and 0.7%. Netflix, Inc. rose 0.1% ahead of the quarterly results later in the day, where it is expected to report blowout guidance for subscriber growth on the back of Squid Games. And here are some of the biggest U.S. movers today. Crypto stocks in the spotlight as Bitcoin continued its climb toward all-time highs, bolstered by optimism over the launch of the first Bitcoin futures exchange traded fund in the U.S. on Tuesday. Today, Hive Blockchain 1.8% up, Riot Blockchain up 2.3%, Marathon Digital up 0.9%, Bitfarms up 3.9%, Ag Eagle Aerial Systems shares rise as much as 16% in U.S. pre-market after the provider of drones, sensors, and software entered into a definitive agreement to buy SenseFly from Parrot at a valuation of $23 million in cash and stock. Steel Dynamics up 1.5% in U.S. pre-market trading after it reported third quarter adjusted earnings per share above average analyst estimates. Frontline jumped 6.5% in U.S. pre-market trading, helped by rising oil prices. Apple marginally higher Tuesday pre-market after analysts were upbeat on the company following an event where it showcased a revamp of its MacBook Pro laptops, along with new audio products. EverQuote shares slipped Monday post-market after the company cut third quarter revenue outlook, and Task US fell 6.8% Monday post-market after holders offered shares via Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. Also, MoneySupermarket.com shares climb as much as 8.9% after the British price comparison website posted its third quarter update and announced the acquisition of cashback site Quidco for Great British pounds, 101 million in cash. Hodgchild gains as much as 6.8% after the silver miner said it plans to spin off the rare earths project it bought 2 years ago and lists a new company in Canada. Software AG drops as much as 14%, the most since 2014, after the company cut its full-year bookings growth guidance in the digital business segment, which analysts highlight as a negative. Bachem falls as much as 11% to 745 after placing 750,000 new shares at 778 apiece to raise to 584 for growth. Bayer Ref trades down as much as 7.2% after the cooling and heating systems manufacturer missed analyst estimates on both sales and profit in the third quarter. Flashing forward into the old snapshot, S&P 500 futures are up 0.2% to 4488.50. Stocks Europe 600 up 0.2% to 467.87. Nikkei up 0.7% to 29,215 and change. Shanghai Composite up 0.7% to 3593 and change. Brent futures up 0.4% to 84.63 a barrel. Gold spot up 1% to 1782.67 per ounce. U.S. dollar index down 0.3% to 93.61. And it looks like the euro up 0.4% to 1.1652. Some other overnight news out of Bloomberg. Bank of France Governor Francois Villeroy de Gallau says there is no reason to raise rates next year as inflation will come back below ECB's 2% target, according to France Info Radio interview. U.S. Treasuries, European sovereigns, UK gifts, and emerging market credit are all set to lose money over the 12 months through September, as dwindling coupons provide little cushion against rising yields, according to forecasts from Bloomberg Intelligence. Adding to the potentially toxic environment for bonds is a prospect of major central banks unwinding debt purchases and raising interest rates. UK Prime Minister Bojo promised to find a solution to Brexit's Northern Ireland Protocol, a sign that a compromise will be reached with the European Union in a dispute that had threatened to spiral into a trade war. Bitcoin continued its climb toward all-time highs, bolstered by optimism over the upcoming launch of the first Bitcoin futures exchange-traded fund in the U.S. by asset manager ProShares. China's property and construction industries contracted in the third quarter for the first time since the start of the scamdemic, weighed by a slump in real estate. China's central bank has room to cut the amount of cash banks must hold in reserve in order to boost liquidity and support economic growth, a government advisor said. Contagion effects on inflation from the record surge in energy prices can't be excluded, but they are not the most likely scenario, Riksbank Deputy Governor Martin Floden said in parliamentary hearing. Other news out of Rand Squawk here, top Asian news, or News Squawk. Alibaba unveils one of China's most advanced chips. Secretive body leads Xinjiang's AI policing, report finds. China's central bank should cut RRR, government advisor says. And China's curbs on fertilizer exports to worsen global price shock. back over to Europe. European gas prices drop on windy and mild weather forecasts. Also, most of Barclays' U.S. workers now back in office, Staley says. Poland escalates rule of law dispute, risking EU recovery money. And Goldman Sachs investment banker joins Nordic venture fund Hadeen. And let's see, some other events on the calendar for today, all at 8:30 a.m. this morning. September building permits month over month estimated down 2.4 versus a prior up 6%, which was later revised to 5.6%. September housing starts month over month estimated down 0.2%. Prior print was a 3.9. September building permits estimate of 1.68 million. Prior was 1.73 million, later revised down about 100,000. As also, September housing starts estimate at 1.61 million versus a prior 1.62. And as mentioned at the top of the show, I'm going to have a little bit more to say about what just come out in regards to those numbers here in just a bit. Aside from that, a couple things here to note. Some of the earnings and that are coming out here today. Johnson & Johnson obviously is going to be doing their earnings report here today. Netflix, United, Procter & Gamble, just to list a few here. And now you can kind of see through the rest of the week. I'll bring the old graphic up as we march through the week here and see what's shaking. So we'll keep an eye on that. Aside from that, Amazon hiring 150,000 seasonal workers to meet surge in holiday web sales. No word yet on whether or not that comes with your own free pee bottle, I suppose, in lieu of taking any sort of breaks, I suppose. But hey, I digress. Amazon announced Monday that it would hire 150,000 seasonal jobs across the fulfillment centers nationwide. The news comes as the company previously announced plans to hire 40,000 new corporate and tech jobs and 125,000 full and part-time fulfillment and transportation jobs. Our seasonal hiring helps us deliver on our promises to customers while also providing flexibility to our full-time employees during busy periods, said Alicia Bowler Davis, Senior VP of Global Customer Fulfillment, in a statement. All new employees will receive an average starting pay of around $18 an hour, sign-on bonuses up to $3,000, and an additional $3 per hour depending on shifts. Says we are proud to be offering a huge range of full-time, part-time, and now seasonal jobs with great pay and benefits, Davis said. The states with the most seasonal jobs available, including Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. Joining Amazon in one of our seasonal roles offers high-paying part-time work or a path to a full-time position with benefits, like our Career Choice program to help people advance their education and careers within Amazon or beyond, she continued. Big e-commerce players have begun to promote benefits and higher pay to seasonal workers as a surge in web sales is expected ahead of the holiday season. Walmart, Amazon's competitor, also serves up perks for seasonal employees. I guess my only question is what sort of products are their fulfillment centers going to have in light of the fact we've got all these container ships sitting off the coast of California at this point? I don't know. No word on that, I suppose. In any case, some other interesting news. Peabody Energy earnings triple as Biden makes coal great again. We talked a little bit about this on show yesterday, talking about how coal is apparently making a comeback. However, I'm not sure how exactly the circle's going to square on that one either, because at the end of the day, a lot of the miners and that have really gone south, meaning not as many people are getting back into mining as jobs. So I'm curious to see how they're going to produce coal from no workers. In any case, this year's global demand for coal has been nothing but stunning and is warning to proponents of the green energy transition. The modern world is dealing with a shortage of fossil fuel supplies and their increasingly soaring prices as renewable generation becomes unreliable ahead of the Northern Hemisphere winter. Despite President Biden's push for climate change policies that could transition the power grid to 100% renewables by 2035, he has done something former President Trump could only dream about: make coal great again. Yeah, right. There's got to be strings attached, certainly. The latest signs coal is roaring back like never before, despite Biden and the assault by the Green Lobby, spearheaded by hapless puppet Greta Thunberg, to kill fossil fuels, is the Monday announcement by Peabody Energy Corp., the largest private sector coal company in the world. And they expect increased demand for coal that will triple earnings for the first 7 months compared with the same period last year. The preliminary financial result we reported today continue to demonstrate the disciplined approach we are taking to control costs, expand margins, and reduce debt. Coal sales to customers were in excess of $900 million, the highest level in 7 quarters. We remain optimistic about the future given strong coal pricing and global demand fundamentals, said Peabody President and CEO Jim Gretsch. Peabody Energy shares jumped 16.5% to $18.55, reaching highs not seen since September. Around $18.73, a 38.2% Fibonacci retracement level sits. A break above the level could ignite more upside momentum. All of this optimism about coal is happening under a Biden administration that is supposedly trying to kill the dirtiest fossil fuel. However, U.S. power plants are on course to burn 23% more coal this year, the first increase since 2013. The reason is that high natural gas prices made it uneconomic to produce electricity, and coal will help boost margins. Currently, 25% of all U.S. electricity produced is derived from coal-fired plants, up 10 percentage points since the beginning of COVID. And of course, here we see that depicted on the rise. The markets have spoken. Rich Nolan, the National Mining Association Chief Executive Officer, recently told Bloomberg, "We're seeing the essential nature of coal come roaring back." The Energy Information Administration forecasts U.S. utilities are estimated to burn 536.9 million short tons of thermal coal, up from 436.5 million in 2020. Ernie Thrasher, CEO of Xcoal Energy and Resources, the largest U.S. exporter of fuel, said demand for coal will remain robust well into 2022. Weeks ago, he warned about domestic supply constraints and power companies already discussing possible grid blackouts this winter. The rebound of coal under a Biden administration must be puzzling for many, but it has shown the green transition will take decades, not years. In the meantime, the world returns to coal. And on top of that, we get this article. It says La Nina sparks early freeze in China as coal supplies languish. And of course, over the last several weeks, we've talked quite a bit about the energy woes in China. And now that they've got 20-some provinces now having rolling blackouts on a regular basis, the government has basically said acquire coal at all costs. So China Meteorological Administration warns of a La Nina weather pattern, which has already brought in the first round of cooler weather. Temps across China are plunging, and the power crisis is worsening as demand for electricity generation ticks higher, straining coal supplies. Thermal coal futures on the Zhengzhou Commodity Exchange jumped as much as 8% to $284, a record high on Monday, following reports provinces will begin the traditional heating season earlier than anticipated. And here we see the asymptotic rise of their coal futures there. Says CMA said temperatures slid more than 10 degrees Celsius in recent days across eastern China. There are reports snow has begun to fall in parts of Inner Mongolia and Heilongjiang. Across the country, mean temperatures have tumbled in the last several weeks. And apparently there's their average temp tracker there. Says last month, Bloomberg reported that China's central government officials ordered the country's top state-owned energy companies to secure supplies for this winter at all costs. Translation: Beijing is no longer willing to risk social anger, and in the future, China will be subsidizing oil and natural gas, which will lead to even higher prices, for other substitute commodities such as oil, which is why Brent and WTI are at 7-year highs. But even with panic buying, sluggish September fuel supplies raise concerns that domestic production will be unable to meet rising demand for electricity generation this winter. Reuters said coal production in China was around 334.1 million tons last month, down from 335.24 million tons in August. The ability to boost coal production has hit roadblocks as flooding closed dozens of top producing mines in the country. And if you were with us yesterday on show, we talked a little bit about the flooding going on in China and whether or not some folks were believing that perhaps it was done on purpose to spare some other more prominent provinces, I suppose. The Chinese government is losing the battle to control rising coal prices, said Alex Whitworth, head of Asia Pacific Power and Renewables Research at Wood Mackenzie. Despite efforts to increase coal supply, weather, security, and logistics challenges caused production to fall in September, nor has China been able to rein in rising electricity demand. The National Energy Administration said electricity consumption in September climbed 6.8% compared with last year and increased 12.9% for the first 3 quarters of this year. Last week, China introduced market reforms to allow electricity prices to rise 20% to incentivize power plants to generate power. Some plants were shuttered or reduced capacity because higher input prices, such as coal and natural gas, have made electricity production uneconomical. The recent price liberalization for coal power utilities and industrial end users is a sign that the government does not believe it can control coal prices in the near future, Whitworth said. The latest round of news suggests it's all hands on deck for Beijing as the traditional heating season begins earlier this year as the country races to secure coal to rebuild depleted stockpiles. So, again, I question where in the heck is all this coal going to come from when there aren't miners to get it done? You just highlighted the fact that perhaps some mine sites net in China had been flooded out. In the meantime, you got India in a similar boat with rising demand and not enough electricity to go around. But yet, here we're making a comeback with coal, and Europe, well, who knows whether or not they're going to institute using coal or perhaps get more natural gas out of Gazprom or Nord Stream or what have you. Interesting. Keeping an eye on it. Aside from that, nuclear ESG pushes on. UK aims to put reactors at the heart of its decarbonization strategy, which is interesting because even the greenies in that will tell you that nuclear is not so good. They think that all the hydrocarbons, the coals, the uh, petrols, oils, things of that nature are certainly bad, but they did not exactly give glaringly high marks for nuclear either. So it's interesting to see that they want to try and push this as part of their quote-unquote green strategy. So the United Kingdom could be ready to officially put nuclear power back on the map. That's because UK ministers are planning on putting nuclear power at the heart of Britain's strategy to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050, a new report from the Financial Times reveals. And what is one of the boldest statements about the future of nuclear in a major geographic area, government documents will lay out a net zero strategy for the UK as well as a cost assessment of implementing the strategy to meet the 2050 goal. Then, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expected to give the documents a go ahead. The Financial Times reported on how the project would be funded. The creation of a regulated asset base model will be key to delivering a future fleet of large atomic power stations. The RAB funding model is already used for other infrastructure projects such as London's Thames Tideway Super Sewer. Under the scheme, households will be charged for the cost of the plant via an energy levy long before it begins generating electricity, which could take a decade or more from when the final investment decision is taken. The mechanism is designed to encourage investment by institutional investors, such as pension funds, by guaranteeing steady returns from early on. Legislation on the nuclear RAB model will be published later this month. Westinghouse is already taking well to the news, planning to revive plans for a nuclear power plant that was abandoned by Hitachi in 2019, a report says. Ministers will also be advocating for small modular reactors, which we noted days ago were also key to France's plans to meet net zero carbon emissions goals. A combination of nuclear power, renewables, and carbon capture and storage is being targeted for UK's 2035 net zero goal. The government will also produce cost analyses and broader environmental plans ahead of the upcoming COP26 climate conference in Glasgow at the end of October. I suppose no word yet on whether or not those Teslas can be powered by nuclear portable stations rather than that ugly old diesel, but I digress. 4 days ago, we noted that France was also adopting nuclear as part of President Macron's strategy for decarbonization. Recall, Germany is also trying to stop the decommissioning of its nuclear reactors. A newly penned letter to the Financial Times, signed by professors from Oxford, Harvard, and American University, alongside a group of environmentalists, is urging that Germany postpone its exit from nuclear energy for the benefit of the environment. Noting that many Germans aren't happy with the jobs politicians are doing addressing climate change, the letter notes that Germany's emissions are rising sharply again at a time when they need to be falling fast. Recall, just days prior to that, we wrote about Poland's second largest energy consumer considering a move to small modular reactors to help generate energy. Earlier in the summer, we posted about how crypto miners were starting to forge partnerships with nuclear power plants to combat the Bitcoin is not good for the environment argument. And I think it's been maybe a little over a week ago, we had a little video in that we played here on show highlighting what these little nuclear generators are, modular enough to where you can actually fit these suckers on the back of an 18-wheeler flatbed, haul them to wherever you need to, and lickety-split away you go. So, does it have legs? Only time will tell. We'll keep an eye on it. Aside from that, housing. Like I said, U.S. housing starts, building permits plunge in September. Following August's surprisingly large jump, building permits and housing starts were expected to slow down significantly in September, and slow down they did. After the 5.6% month-over-month surge, revised down from the 6% month-over-month in August, building permits plunged 7.7% month-over-month in September, dramatically worse than the 2.4% month-over-month drop expected. Housing starts were dramatically revised lower in August from the 3.9% month-over-month to a plus 1.2% month-over-month, and September saw starts tumble 1.6% month-over-month, considerably worse than the 0% expected. So here you can kind of see the seesawing throughout the year, up, down, and of course now we're on the downhill side of things. Permits are at their lowest level since September 2020, and starts are at 6-month lows, depicted graphically here. Says multifamily permits plunged 21% SAR from 630,000 to 498,000, while single-family permits slide to 1.041 million, the lowest since July 2020. And here we kind of see that depicted graphically as well. So single-family home starts were unchanged at 1.08 million, while multifamily starts dropped 5.1% SAR from 492,000 to 467,000. All of which is odd, given that NAHB sentiment just rebounded strongly. And of course, they're noting the obvious glaring discrepancy between the homebuilders' confidence per NAHB in green here versus homebuilders' confidence per the University of Michigan, and yeah, you note quite the disparity between the two. So which is right? Maybe home buyers know better after all. So yeah, maybe you guys can tell around your respective areas around the country what is going on, whether or not housing starts are going. I don't see much activity around my part here, so I'm not exactly sure where all these housing starts and permits and things are taking place, but it's certainly not where I'm at. All right, outside of some financials here on the morning, as mentioned, AZ GOP Chair Kelly Ward calls for forensic audit of Pima County over 86% mail-in ballot return rate. So apparently Arizona is now looking to expand outside of Maricopa and start to look at some of the other counties as well. This out of National File here today, or yesterday, says we just do not see 99 or 100% or over 100% in countries with real elections. That's the key thing, real elections, right? Arizona GOP Chair Kelly Ward broke down the new analysis of mail-in ballots from the 2020 presidential in Pima County, Arizona, and found alarming anomalies. In a video posted on Twitter by the Republican Party of Arizona, AZ GOP Chair Dr. Kelly Ward detailed startling results from the recent analysis of mail-in ballots from the 2020 election in Pima County, Arizona. of the mail-in ballots used in the 2020 election in Pima County, Arizona's second largest county, the return rate of the ballots was 86%. This was particularly startling, according to Ward, who added that over 40 precincts in the Pima County had a return rate of over 97%. And of course, we'll take a listen here.
It is time for a special update from the Republican Party of Arizona. I'm your chairwoman, Dr. Kelly Ward. In a new analysis of mail-in ballots used in the 2020 election in Arizona's second largest county, Pima County, has revealed some startling results. The analysis shows that 40 precincts had over 97% of ballots returned. For perspective, the national mail-in ballot return rate was 71%. The return rate for the entire state of Arizona was 65%. In Pima County as a whole, it was 86%. One of the Pima County precincts even had 99.5% return rate, and another had, get this, 100.6% returned. This does not happen. Apart from the absurdity of having over 100% of ballots returned, we just do not see 99 or 100% or over 100% in countries with real elections. As I said before, Pima is the second most populous county here in Arizona. It usually accounts for about 20% of the total statewide vote, and it is, of course, a Democrat stronghold. There's a petition movement to have a full forensic audit of the Pima County 2020 election, similar to what was done in Maricopa County. We should join it, and we should urge the Attorney General to get it done. I've been asking for full audits of all 15 of Arizona's counties. Between the problems that were pointed out in Maricopa County by the State Senate audit team, incompetence, mistakes, fraud, and the numbers from Pima County, we must get to the bottom of what happened. Also, our election integrity unit through the Attorney General needs to begin canvassing statewide so we can verify if all these mail-in ballots were cast properly, or even if they were real votes at all. We have audits being called for in other states all across the country. The momentum for election integrity only continues to build. We, the people, will not back down. We will not waver. We will continue our vital work to ensure that our elections are free and fair now and in years to come. Remember, here at the Republican Party of Arizona, it is always America first. I'll see you next time.
That, in the words of Dr. Kelly Ward, interesting. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Says this does not happen, she continued, apart from the absurdity of having over 100% of ballots returned. We just do not see 99 or 100% or over 100% in countries with real elections. As I said before, Pima is the second most populous county here in Arizona. It usually accounts for more than 20% of total statewide vote, and it is, of course, a Dem stronghold, Ward said. There is a petition movement to have a full forensic audit of the Pima County 2020 election, similar to what was done in Maricopa County. We should join it, and we should urge the Attorney General to get it done, she said. We must get to the bottom of what happened. Also, our election integrity unit, through the Attorney General, needs to begin canvassing statewide so we can verify if all these mail-in ballots were cast properly, or even if they were just real votes at all. We, the people, will not back down. We will not waver. We will continue our vital work and to ensure that our elections are free and fair, now and in years to come, she said. Well, why stop at Pima County? It should be efforts across every single county at this point, and I thought that should be the plan. Whether or not that's going to happen and who's going to fund it beyond that, frankly, I'm not a big fan of the RNC at the moment. It almost seems to me that they've used this as a fundraising effort, and where are the dollars going at the end of the day? That's my question. So as much as I'd like to say, Kelly Ward, great job, thumbs up, all that good stuff, show us the money. Let's get it done. Aside from that, yesterday I alluded a little bit to the Let's Go Brandon stuff going on. Well, PJ Media had this out yesterday. Says it's the #1 hip hop song in the U.S. So thanks to the NBC reporter for that one. Alternative rapper Loza Alexander's surprise hit Let's Go Brandon has topped the iTunes hip hop chart at #1. Wonder how long that'll stay there before they realize what's going on and decide to wipe the slate clean. The anti-establishment banger currently sits at #2 overall, just behind power ballad star Adele, and ahead of industry heavy hitters Ed Sheeran, Coldplay, Elton John, and Justin Bieber. When you add up their mind-boggling amount of legacy media promotion, these stars are granted as a matter of course. Alexander's achievement is all the more impressive. The expression "Let's Go Brandon" was inadvertently created by NBC reporter Kelly Stavast as she was trying to interview NASCAR driver Brandon Brown. Brown had just won his race at Talladega Superspeedway, and the crowd behind him was raucously performing the popular F. Joe Biden chant. You can hear the chants from the crowd, said Stavast in an awkward attempt to wave away the elephant in the room. Let's Go Brandon. The moment went viral, and Let's Go Brandon is now the SFW version of the original chant. The song has been boosted by some pretty high profile fans. Fox News wrote about it 2 days ago, and Donald Trump Jr. gave it a social media boost. The song sports the prestigious yellow bestseller flag on Amazon after hitting #1 in the rap and hip hop category as well. Alexander says he's ready to release an extended version of the song as soon as his fans push sales to #1 in all categories. And who knows, it could happen. So oh, what the heck, I'll play just a snippet of it here. Let's go, Brandon. Hey. Let's go, Brandon. Hey. Let's go, let's go. Hey. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. You know what they saying, ho? Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. You know. And that'll get you enough of a snippet. You can find that pretty much everywhere at this point. Rather humorous. And hence why you saw at the beginning of the broadcast, hey, might as well play it up. I'll throw a shirt together, and if you guys want, you guys can go get one over on the old Teespring store. Trump in the news here, suing to block Biden's release of White House documents to the January 6th kangaroo court. This out of Red State here, late yesterday. As I suggested in an earlier article titled Report, State Department IG launches series of investigations into Biden Afghanistan debacle. Grab the popcorn and pull up a chair. And in the article below that, both on Monday, I reported on investigative journalist Glenn Greenwald's latest Substack column in which he lays out the real purpose of the January 6th committee show trial. In a word, we're going to need more popcorn. A lot more popcorn. Former President Donald Trump has now filed a lawsuit to block the release of White House documents from his administration to Nancy Pelosi's Select Congressional Committee investigating the January 6th breach of the U.S. Capitol. As reported by Clown News, the lawsuit claims Trump still has a right to executive privilege. Per MSNBC tweet here, breaking, former President Trump files a double-barreled lawsuit seeking to block any handover of documents a congressional committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol has sought from the National Archives. And Trump had previously requested that the Biden administration assert executive privilege over the documents. The chances of that happening were somewhere between 0 and -10. As even Clown News notes, similar requests from past presidents are traditionally honored by their successors. But Biden being Biden, he denied Trump's request, citing special circumstances. Perhaps when Biden becomes a former president, he'll regret his refusal of Trump's request. Just a thought. Trump's lawsuit also asserts that the Presidential Records Act is unconstitutional if it is read so broadly as to allow an incumbent president unfettered discretion to waive the previous president's executive privilege mere months following an administration change. And as transcribed by Clown News, the lawsuit claims Biden's refusal to protect some of the documents was a political ploy to accommodate his partisan allies. Trump spokesman Taylor Budowich amplified the argument in a statement as transcribed by The Blaze. says the January 6th committee is a partisan sham to distract Americans from the Dems' policies that are killing and robbing Americans. The media is complicit in advancing the committee's unconstitutionally flawed request. The committee isn't seeking the truth, it's seeking communist-style political persecution of President Trump and the America First patriots who served their country honorably. White House spokesman Mike Gwynn begs to differ, as noted by Clown News, also in a statement. The former president's actions represented a unique and existential threat. Dems do love that term, don't they? To our democracy that can't be swept under the rug. As President Biden determined, the constitutional protections of executive privilege should not be used to shield information that reflects a clear and apparent effort to subvert the Constitution itself. Hello, pot, call kettle black, Constitution be damned. Paul Rosenwig, a professorial lecturer in law at the George Washington University Law School, shared Gwynn's views as Clown News reported. Trump has demonstrated an ability to pressure the delay point. He's always been good at using litigation as a weapon, and this is another one of those. Hello, lawfare called, Mr. George Washington University lecturer, I guess, turned a blind eye to that one. So where does it stand? Trump has just weeks to convince the court to block the release of the docs, which appear to be an uphill battle. And again, out of Clown News. The National Archives told Trump that it would turn over records to Congress that he wants to keep secret on November 12th, unless a court steps in, according to the former president's lawsuit fighting the release of those documents. The archives said it consulted with the Justice Department and the White House and determined the committee should receive the documents it has requested, according to a letter from archivist David Ferriero last week. A copy of that letter is included as an exhibit in Trump's lawsuit on Monday. Meanwhile, hapless Joe Biden continues to stumble and mumble his way through self-created crisis after self-created crisis, which even he must be somewhat embarrassed about by now. Yeah, probably not. In any case, outside of that, Trump's still in the news here today, and I really wish he would back away from this one, because he's basically shooting himself in the foot on this. You'll see what I mean here in a moment. Says I would convince people. Trump says he wouldn't need COVID vaccine mandate if he was president. President Trump has a very simple solution for President Biden's problem of vaccine credibility. I would sell it to them, the former president said during an interview with former Fox News host Bill O'Reilly that aired last night on The First TV. He added that when he was president, there was no talk of vaccine mandates, and added that in under 9 months, his administration helped produce not one, but 3 vaccines, all of which have proven to be the industry standard around the world. I wouldn't say to anybody, you have to, but I would sell it. Look, I'm very proud of what we did with the vaccines, Trump told political news host Bill O'Reilly in an interview that will air at 8 p.m. Monday on The First TV. It was supposed to take 5 years, and they said it wasn't going to work. I did 3 vaccines in less than 9 months, and they do work. They work really well. I would convince people, take it. I don't want to push it. When I was president, there was no talk about mandates or anything. Everybody wanted the vaccine. Now a lot of people don't want it. Trump has good reason to remember the pace of vaccine development all too well, since the first vaccine trial data were released roughly a week after the November 3rd election. That, according to Trump, has allowed President Biden to take credit for the vaccines, which were funded, let's remember, by federal dollars flowing out of Operation Warp Speed. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have both tried to take credit for the jab, even though at one point they suggested they were suspicious of any jab developed under the Trump organization. Yeah, who can forget those clips, right? Already, 79% of U.S. adults and 77% of people over age 12 have had at least one COVID jab, which is a rate much higher than other countries like Russia, where the adult population has largely rejected the jab. Biden last month justified his new vaccine mandates by arguing that vaccine refusers were recklessly endangering others. Our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us, Biden said. Meanwhile, Chicago Mayor Beetlejuice just accused the city's Fraternal Order of Police, the city's biggest police union, of trying to foment an insurrection in a city that's hounded by gun violence day in and day out. That's Beetlejuice for you. So, yeah, it's an argument I see that Trump is trying to make, but nonetheless, not good. It's not good for his cause, and I really wish he would smarten up in that regard and just back away. That would probably be the smartest thing he could do. But one can also understand why the push for it, because had they not rushed to try and develop these under Operation Warp Speed, who knows where we would be by way of lockdowns. Hell, for all we know, we'd probably be in the same boat as Australia at this point, which has no signs of letting up. So there's that aspect of it, but nonetheless. All right, well, that is going to do it for the broadcast this morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. Take care. God bless, everybody.